Alright, so let's dive into something that's pretty fascinating and super relevant, Donald Trump and how he completely shifts the meaning of words. You know how he says stuff like build a wall or promises to end the Russo-Ukrainian war in a single day? It sounds bold, but what does it really mean? Let's unpack this because there's a lot to it. Now, here's the deal. Trump's language is kind of slippery. His supporters often say they don't take him literally, but seriously. But who gets to decide what seriously even means? That's where things get tricky. Honestly, it's part of his appeal. It's like he pulls you into this exclusive world where you feel like you're helping him define reality, almost like being in a secret deal-making session with the president himself. Wild, right? This ambiguity isn't just random, though. It lets Trump appeal to totally opposite groups at the same time. Like, during his presidency, both pro-Palestinian activists and people who supported Israel annexing the West Bank voted for him. Crazy, right? Both sides knew he was playing both of them, but they each thought maybe they could strike a deal with him. Now, world leaders in Moscow, Kiev, and beyond are scratching their heads over Trump's bold promise to resolve one of Europe's biggest conflicts since World War II in just a day. It sounds impressive, but how would that even work? Trump likes to throw around phrases like peace through strength, winning, and putting America first. But what does strength actually mean? Is it about the US stepping in as a kind of protective big brother? Like, maybe guaranteeing Ukraine's air defenses to avoid a nuclear catastrophe caused by stray Russian bombs? Or does it mean forcing Ukraine to make painful compromises, like giving up its sovereignty? In Moscow, though, Putin isn't exactly rushing to the table. He thinks he's holding his ground on the battlefield. Sure, the Russian economy is feeling the heat, with food prices up 9% monthly and interest rates over 20%. But it's not in total meltdown mode yet. Here's another thing. Putin's military supplies, the ones left over from the Soviet era, might start running out by late 2025. So he might consider negotiations early next year. But he's probably going to keep fighting until the last minute. And if talks don't go his way, you can bet on more attacks targeting civilians. So how does Trump fit into this? Russia has been pretty clear about what it wants, a demilitarized Ukraine that it can control politically. Some of the people around Trump might actually agree to something like this, especially if it means Russia breaks its military ties with China. But let's think about this. Would Putin really ditch his partnership with Xi Jinping for an unpredictable America? Probably not. Giving up his connection with Tehran might also feel like a bad trade for Putin. But there's a twist here. Putin might look at Trump and see a version of himself. Both have that kleptocratic vibe, you know? Maybe there's a bizarre deal waiting, like some billionaire buying one of Trump's golf courses at an outrageous price. Sounds far-fetched, but with these two, who knows? Now, let's talk about Ukraine. What's Zelensky bringing to the table? In some leaked memos from a meeting with Trump, Zelensky apparently stressed that Ukraine has tons of critical minerals like titanium. This stuff is super important for things like rockets and medical implants. But is that enough to catch Trump's interest? Because, let's be real, Ukraine's survival depends on being heavily armed, and for at least the next 2 years, that means a lot of support from the US, especially in artillery and logistics. Here's where it gets interesting. While Trump talks about bringing Russia and Ukraine to the table, the real negotiations might end up being with Europe and Britain. Why? Because they're the ones who can offer something really tangible. Think about this. Europe and the UK could step up with funding by seizing $300 billion in Russian state assets. That's a massive bargaining chip. And if they also increase NATO spending, pressure Iran, or even send peacekeeping troops to Ukraine, it could be a game changer. Trump wouldn't even need to spend American money on Ukraine. Europe and Britain could buy the weapons themselves. And America could even make a profit while securing peace in Europe. Trump could then claim a huge win, getting those freeloading Europeans to pay up and proving his critics wrong. But there's more to this than just Trump's immediate goals. Over the past year, researchers have been digging into how Americans, especially Republicans, view their country's role in the world, and here's what they found. A lot of people want America to focus more on itself. The idea of an international rules-based order is not something most Americans think about, but at the same time they know the U.S. can't totally isolate itself. They understand that America relies on global supply chains for food, cars, defense, and medicine. And they're worried about how countries like China and Russia are gaining control over those supply chains. So this is the moment where the meaning of words like security, strength, and alliances is up for grabs. Trump's ambiguity might seem confusing, but it also creates an opportunity. Maybe this is the time to redefine what those words mean and figure out how to make them work for everyone. What do you think? Can Trump's approach actually lead to solutions? Or is it just more chaos? Let me know your thoughts, because this is one discussion that's far from over.